Do you see a common mistake that some firm leaders make even before they realize that they're making a mistake?
Good question. Well, I think, we all make mistakes, right? And recognizing in the moment, is this a good thing or a bad thing? Well, maybe it's not a good or bad thing. Things happen for a reason. And the question is, what does it all mean? How can you learn from it? How can you grow from it? None of us are perfect. If you're speaking to specifically this topic in this space, I think some leaders overlook it and undervalue the need for it. And we know, especially with this younger generation, Harry, you may be able to speak to it. I hear the feedback. They're less resilient. They're more anxious. They're different than these older generations who could work their long hours and do whatever it took and handle the harsh criticism and feedback and just power through. Well, this younger generation, they're a little different. And why they're a little different? They got different challenges facing them. Social media, climate change, AI, all these things, and how they're handling it as a generation. It is what it is. The question is, what do we want to do about it?
Welcome to Harry Handles It, a podcast where we dive into the world of personal growth, success strategies, and everything in between. I'm your host, Harry Nalbandian, and today we're going to chat with an incredible guest who has some amazing insights to share. Remember, no matter what life throws your way, I'm here to help you handle it. So let's get started.
Welcome to the Harry Handles It podcast. Today we've got the wonderful Kevin Thibodeaux on, who is the founder of EXQ EXP. He is a leadership and culture coaching platform tailored for legal professionals. Kevin, welcome to the platform.
Thank you. Honored to be here, Harry.
We were talking a bit offline about your background and where you are with ESQ EXP. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about that?
Sure. And let me share. ESQ stands for the Esquire Experiment. It's an experiment that I'm trying to do with the legal industry and helping to improve, greater well-being and performance and relationships. I call it mental fitness. How do you solve everyday challenges from a place of positivity rather than negativity, which is much needed across a variety of industries. But I'm particularly focused on the legal space. And my background is one of corporate America. I'm not an attorney by training, but I've worked with attorneys and coached attorneys and lawyers, and hence recognized the need. They told me, you should bring this to more of our colleagues. And but prior to becoming a coach, I worked in corporate America and had a lot of these challenges for myself: high stress, imposter syndrome, frustration, disappointment, not being able to handle things in a way that was beneficial for my well-being and development, and affected my health, with the stress and energy levels and so forth. It needed to change, and here I am today, having gone through an extenuous journey of life, if you will, to become a coach and try to help others make the world a better place.
That's awesome, man. And if it's one industry that could use coaching along those lines, it's the legal industry. And I think I talked about this on a podcast recently, but outside of competitive sports, I don't know any other industry where two highly trained legal professionals get in the litigation space.
Okay.
Are both trying to undermine each other's positions and both trying to win, both trying to advance their own plays. And of course that gets contentious at times. It can, and there's better ways of doing it, but having our people deal with that and how they deal with that was something I struggled with for a while. And when we were building up this kind of version of the company that we have today, we thought about how can we reframe the idea of this sort of constant, if it's perceived that way, just negative energy being thrown at the people from other sides, from clients, from other people, vendors, attorneys. Mm-hmm. And we came up with the idea of incorporating into one of our core values being solution sharks. And being a solution shark really means for us is when you're presented with a problem, it's not getting into that negative headspace with kind of those intrusive thoughts creeping in. It's, you acknowledge that it might not be the best thing that you're reading, or the problem that you have may be a high pressure problem, but so what? The only way you get rid of it is by solving it. And so the idea is when you have problems, you come with us with a few different solutions, so that reshifts and reframes people's focus from panic mode to I have a problem to, all right, I have this issue. How do I get around it? How do I solve around for it. And so that's been a big change for us and what I see from the team. Uh, have you seen sort of those types of changes in organizations you've helped?
Undoubtedly, Harry. And first, one, thank you for sharing your personal experience and your firm's, cultural shift and incorporating into your values. And you're really stealing my thunder. I mean, everything you shared is exactly what I do in a structured way and to make it easy and simple for individuals and organizations to grasp. So, I want to acknowledge that first and foremost. Number two, of course, yes, I've seen it happen in organizations. Typically starts with the top, embracing that, hey, we know better, we can do better. How do we fit it in? Because when we practice these things at an individual and at a team level, an organizational level, guess what? Performance goes up, productivity goes up, revenue goes up, well-being goes up. People are happier, people are more content, less burnout. Performing at a high level in high stress situations, not being triggered by the counter, the opposition, if you will, because that can trigger you too, right? As you mentioned, those negative voices. So teaching folks on an individual level as well as a team level to recognize when these things show up, we tend to go into automatic mode and we instantly get hijacked. And right, these are patterns. We have these neural pathways that are triggered and instantly go into, hey, acting and responding in a way that may not be good for you, may not be, a great thing to do. So what if we could change the way people think, then, feel and, respond? And in some situations, boy, you only get a split second between stimuli and response. So that's what I do. I help, I call it mental fitness, but essentially it's quieting your mind, handling these challenges and stressors, recognizing, building that awareness, knowing what to do is equally important. Because what happens when you get those intrusive thoughts, that inner critic, what do? Telling you to do something different, that's great. But doing it is the hard part. So I have to train you on how to do it. It's like physical fitness. I can tell you how to work out all day, but if you don't go to the gym and work out, are you going to be fit? Are you going to lose the weight? Are you going to have the goal that you're wanting to achieve? Same principle.
Yeah.
So I want to build on what you just said and having helped law firms kind of go through that process. Do you see a common mistake that some firm leaders make even before they realize that they're making a mistake?
Good question. Um, Well, I think, we all make mistakes, right? And recognizing in the moment, is this a good thing or a bad thing? Well, maybe it's not a good or bad thing. Things happen for a reason. And the question is, boy, what does it all mean? What's gonna, how can you learn from it? How can you grow from it? None of us are perfect. If you're speaking to specifically this topic in this space, I think some leaders overlook it and undervalue the need for it. And we know, especially with this younger generation, Harry, you may be able to speak to it. I hear the feedback. They're less resilient. They're more anxious. They're different than these older generations who could work their long hours and do whatever it took and handle the harsh criticism and feedback and just power through. Well, this younger generation, they're a little different. And why they're a little different? They got different challenges facing them: social media, climate change, AI, all these things, and how they're handling it as a generation. It is what it is. The question is, what do we want to do about it? So, from a leadership standpoint, if your greatest asset are your people and your ability to serve your clients, well, it makes sense to invest in those people and make sure, hey, what are we doing to help them be their best? And so, having the leadership, having let's say, the academic training, the schools do that. Bringing them in and teach them the way your firm works and how you do things, the technical and the practical, because you get the theory and now we got to apply what we learned with all the cases. But guess what? Who's handling the gap of that mental space and emotional intelligence? That is one of the biggest contributors to how well you succeed in these high pressure, high stakes situations. So what I see sometimes is it's undervalued or overlooked, and I have to present that case and prove the value and say, look, let's try it out a little bit and see what happens and get the anecdotal as well as the qualitative and quantitative feedback that will hopefully allow leaders to make good decisions and invest in programs that will, help to make their workforce more resilient to handle the challenges of a changing world, changing client demands, and the high stress, high pressure situations you guys are thrusted into.
Yeah. And I mean, the high pressure and high stakes sort of environment that the work brings can mask or make harder the
Hmm.
ability to communicate well with different members of your team, right? You may be accustomed to communicating with one person, or you may have a small little team that you communicate with routinely on your cases, and you have your accepted form of communication. But somebody else comes in that who maybe you haven't spoken to quite often, and if you give them the same sort of communication that they are not ready to receive, then it
Right.
becomes a friction point, right? You've seen that happen before.
Undoubtedly, yes, it can definitely, mask or make worse. So, I mean, part of the challenge is, recognizing that, doing things when you're hijacked by those negative voices probably is not going to serve you as well. Can you achieve? Of course, but you're achieving with a lot of stress and wasted energy and time and all the things that come with it. It's like, think about it like this. The perfect analogy would be, Harry, if I put your hand on a hot stove, how long before you take it off? Question for you. How
Yeah.
long? Hot stove. How long before you take your hand off on a hot stove?
Oh, it's seconds. I mean, not even a
Seconds.
second.
Immediately.
Milliseconds.
Why? Why do you do that? Because your mind says, Harry, corrective action is needed. Your hand is burning. You can probably see the sizzle. Your skin is burning. Take it off and treat it. Now, imagine your hand burning, Harry, and then you're trying to negotiate or handle a high stakes litigation. Your hand is on the stove and you're trying to do work. Think about that. How
Yeah.
productive or how effective would you be? Probably not. You're going to be tunnel vision
Great
because your hands
analogy.
are going up, but you still got to work. So my principle is, what if I take your hand off your stove, take the hand off the stove? Because there's situations where, hand on the stove is what we do. And that pain is similar to what we call negative emotions. We tend to stay in those negative emotions. Those we ruminate on it. We beat ourselves up. We don't sleep at night for your mistakes. I didn't send an email out, or I made a mistake in this brief, or I did this. Done. Let it go. How do we quiet that and focus on what's needed? Because if you keep ruminating, you keep your hand on the stove, you're not going to be very good at what you need to do. And we know this because a lot of, as you mentioned, professional sports, high stakes, they've been moving along this direction for a long time with the mental fitness. They're bringing in mental fitness coaches. If you miss the big free throw, you miss the pass or drop, fumble, how do you let it go and move on to the next play? Because dwelling on that last play only impacts your future success, right? So we teach them how to quiet their minds and move on and not judge themselves, because you have to stay present to continue to perform at a high level. So
Yeah, man,
that's what
that
I do.
resonates. Yeah,
Go ahead.
that's great. That resonates hard. Um, is there a simple question, or have you found one way to be able to reframe some lawyers' inability to get out of their overwhelmed state to be able to finally be like, hey, let's let it go and let's focus on what's happening now?
Yeah. Well, I do an assessment up front to identify which saboteurs are showing up for you, because we're all unique in certain things. Harry, for example, I'm a stickler. How I need for perfectionism. I have to do things a certain way and whatnot, and that overdone is not helping. So trying to do things right, great, but when you start to do it and it causes you anxiety and stress, not so great. Whereas you might be an avoider. Lots of folks are avoiders. They avoid doing stuff. I'm trying to get it perfect. You're trying to avoid it because you don't like it. Guess what? Neither one is serving us well. So our saboteurs, our judge will start to make us feel a certain way, and then you avoid more because it's something you don't like. So what I do, is there a particular question? I try to focus on, boy, what's that saboteur showing up most at work? Let's start there. And we start to, walk through what that is, show you how it's making you feel and how it's making you think and some of the characteristics and some of the lies it's telling you. Because the lie may be telling Harry is, if you avoid more things, the problem will go away. Well, we know that ain't true. Things exacerbate, they build up, and now you got to deal with it, but it's going to be way worse at a later point in time. Or I keep thinking, I keep being perfect at it, it's going to be right. Well, the truth is, you can never make anything 100% perfect, right? So I'm killing myself trying to do things, and I can't even get to the next task because I'm working on one that probably should be done, but I need it to be perfect. So I tend to focus starting out with what's showing up most in a particular situation as they, want to talk about these things. And that's where you start the questioning, what would it be like if we could stop that from happening? right? What would it be like if you could, focus on things you need to do or move on from things that don't need to be perfect in those situations, right? That's where I start.
How do you deal with some resistance to lawyers, professionals, resistance to coaching? How do you do that? How do you introduce this topic to them without trying to burn them out?
Yeah, how do I deal with it? One, I expect it, right? Because it's like, all right, But two, I try to relate it to real life scenarios. I mean, let's talk about, because change is tough, right? And try to find out what's preventing you from change. And typically, it's their saboteurs. It's the judge telling me, nah, this is hocus pocus, Kev, or nah, we can't do that, or nah, it doesn't make sense. So I point that out. Your very saboteurs are causing you not to do things that could be beneficial for you. So let's just try, doing the saboteur assessment or figuring out what would it take. Just try a little bit. I try to do simple things to get people to take one small step. And based on that, but showing them in the process, that's typically what's happening. It's usually driven by fear a lot of times, Harry, and that judge making you feel like, hey, can't succeed at that, or we don't have time, can't fit it in, all these things. So trying to get to the core and make small steps and see what'll get them to try things. And at times, let me tell you, not every firm, not every managing partner or personal, professional development, administrator will want to move forward. And I keep my wise part says maybe not now, could be later. But you kind of meet people where they are and give them time to adjust, figure out what's driving that resistance, and trying to counteract it, but recognizing it's a lot of saboteurs. Some are avoided, if you will.
Yeah. Moving outside of the individual lawyer level, is there a way to implement? So, is there a system that you have or recommend for implementing this organizational wide?
Oh, no doubt. That's what I'm trying to do. I have a team of coaches. I have a tool. So this is actually supported by an app because we have to build mental fitness. So I have I have an app that it's a mental fitness gym. It's your gym to build the mental habits because if I could zap every attorney or every team or every organization with the little men in black pen and just change your mindset from one, I would do it. I would do it. And guess what? I'd be like open, like Chat GPT. It might be $1 million, $1 billion, valuation, right? Multi-billion. But I don't have that capability. So what we have to do is, figure out where you're at, understand where your saboteurs are, and work over time. Because guess what? These saboteurs, these negative patterns, this mindset started out as early as childhood. We know scientifically as early as 5 years old for your own emotional and physical survival as kids, we kind of generate these saboteurs to help us navigate early childhood. But by the time you became an adult, guess what? You no longer need them, and they're like invisible inhabitants in your brain. They're living rent free. So, from an individual level to a team to organizational level, hey, those are showing up at work, and we know your saboteurs trigger other saboteurs. See it in marriages and relationships. Guess what? She's anxious and you're avoiding. So you start, avoiding, it triggers her anxiety, and they want more and more. Happens all the time. So we have to recognize what it is, and the program is, understanding, that awareness, building that up, teaching you how to, quiet your mind when those things show up, because you need to know what to do when they show up, or even how to prevent them, because they don't technically go away. And then, once you take your hand off the stove, we have to teach you how to solve problems from the wise part of your brain. So it's two parts: quieting the negative, amplifying the positive, and that can be done at an organizational level, because I take everyone through either at one time or in groups, and we work together to, show how this is showing up in their respective lives and careers and so forth.
That's awesome, man. Have you found a certain time frame works best, given an organization, or does it really depend on the organization's health as you find them?
Good question. I like to catch them early, man. If I can get the summer hires or the new associates before they get indoctrinated into all these things and their mind starts to build up, saboteurs are reinforced and getting stronger. I could quiet, and teach them the skills up front. So they're going in and they're building that mental fitness, and they can, over time, because truth be told, the higher you go up, less time to try things new, busy, and people think time is the challenge. But catching them when they're young, early on, and then they become the leaders and have that capability makes a lot of sense. So early associates, first year, second year, summer interns, all great. It's what I tend to focus on, but definitely at any level in a firm works.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, this was a fantastic conversation, Kevin. Tell our listeners how they can find out more information about you, where they can get in touch.
Yeah, I have, as you mentioned, the website, the Esquire Experiment, and just for clarity, the reason why I call it an experiment is because when I work in my coaching, I'm not a professor, I'm not a teacher, I don't tell you what to do. We do experimentations, we try, we innovate, we do new things, and not what works for one person may not work for the next, and that's pretty much the tailoring effect, as you can imagine, Harry. So I call it experimentations. We try things, if they don't work, try something else. That's okay. That's what life is about, experimenting, right? So I call the venture the Esquire Experiment because we're experimenting on what would be, how could the legal industry change if lawyers had greater self-awareness and mental fitness and ability to quiet their negative minds as they engage in legal activities, if you will. So it's a big experiment. And so the website is, as you mentioned, esqexp.com. There you can learn more, and you can actually book a free saboteur assessment where we'll talk about your saboteurs. You get to go through the assessment, we review the results, and see what's showing up for individuals. And I do have a LinkedIn, and it's just Kevin Thibodeaux at LinkedIn. I gotta remember that whole line by now, but that's the way to find me for now.
Awesome, Kevin. Thank you for the awesome conversation today, and looking forward to speaking with you again.
Sounds great. Appreciate it, Harry.
Thanks for joining us today on Harry Handles It. I hope you enjoyed our conversation and found some valuable takeaways. If you're facing challenges in your own life or business, remember that you're not alone. Together, we can handle anything that comes our way. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review if you liked what you heard. Until next time, keep pushing forward and handling life with confidence.